Oh yeah, evening. Just want to have a bit of a chat, really. I've been thinking about something I heard the other night. I was listening to a gentleman I watch. He does hunting videos. He's also a preacher, and he was talking about his testimony and how he came to faith, and it really resonated with me. And it got me back in the Word and sort of cherishing Genesis, because I've gone through Genesis for a little while, and I'll go through it with you. He was a sort of everyday fella, quite successful in his business. He was married. He thought at the time happily married, but there was something missing in his life. Now, he was, I think, producing hunting videos and something like that, and he had these videos ready to sell, and someone was going to buy them, and guy called him up and said, "Well, can you drop them round to me?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll drop them round. Money's money, innit?" So he gave him the address, and it was a church. And he felt really, really uncomfortable about popping round there to this church, but he went anyway because money's money. And he went in, and he was quite shocked at what he saw, in a good way. So I'm just doing some work on the boat. I think what was it he said? One of the church guys was sitting on one of his bouncy balls, his computer, sort of ergonomic things, and there were some other guys having a laugh and joke and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, he was quite shocked to it wasn't that sort of stale looking church that a lot of people associate with church. So they got chatting and had a good day, and the guy walked him out to his car. And as they're walking out, he goes to the guy, "Well, can I give you a DVD, CD for you to have a listen to?" And it was the gentleman's testimony. And he was off hunting because this guy loved being in the woods alone. That's where he found his solace. And as he's driving to his hunting location, he heard something that really resonated with him. The guy was saying that he was reading from Genesis, and I'll read the passage that he was reading. Oh, actually, no, it's New Testament Psalms. Basically, the passage that he was reading was from Genesis 3:9, and it was Adam. And it was after the fall, and Adam's in the garden, and the Lord's saying to him, "Where are you, Adam?" And Adam was hiding from the Lord, and he was hiding because of his nakedness. Well, we know that's sin. It was a shame of his sin that Adam was hiding from. And it really resonated with this guy. And he's like, "Well, I've been doing that. The Lord's been calling me. He's been calling me through lots of people, Christians put in my way and sort of ministering to me over the years, and he's rejected it. I'm happy, I'm good enough, I don't need all this." And he can't remember much else of what was on the DVD, but he just remembers getting to his hunting location, getting out of the car, and just breaking down in tears. And he gave his life to the Lord there and then, which was a bit of a shock to the missus. But she then gave her life to the Lord, seeing the transformation in him. And his testimony was that he now has the marriage that he thought he had, but now they're serving one another, they're loving one another. Yes, he still goes out and he hunts, and that's his thing, but there's not a separation now, because when he goes hunting or he's away from her, she's left with the Lord. They have comfort in themselves, and that they see each other as a blessing rather than just a contractual union. Oh, this is what we're meant to do. We're meant to get married. We're meant to have kids, that sort of thing. No. It's a blessing, and that's how he sees it now. And this guy has now become a pastor. He's served in the church for years, and he now teaches. And it really resonated with me, because how many people? as you probably know, archery, and I love the outdoors and stuff. But how many people have been in the garden? I mean, we all are. We're in the Lord's world. We're in His creation, and the creation calls out that there is a Creator, and we've been hiding because of our sin, in our nakedness, and it really resonated with me. How many people have been put in front of us all our lives? How many people have been ministering to us with that homologeo, that confession by action for all our lives? But we've been hiding. Now, Jonah was slightly different. He didn't hide from the Lord, he ran from his purpose. Well, that's good, mainly because he hated the Ninevites, but through one man's action, that original sin that's left us in that state where we're all in, from birth, we're all in the garden of creation, fallen world, but we're all hiding from the Lord. And it resonated with me, and it probably does you as well. And if we're totally honest, we have all hidden from the Lord. We've all when He has called us, we've all turned away and said, "I'm embarrassed to see you," and that's not something that ends. And this is something that really needs to be spoken about. That's not something that ends when you're a Christian. That's something that when you've fallen or you've slipped back into sin, because we all fight sin, and anyone says they don't is kidding themselves or kidding you. We all fight sin, and from time to time we slip. But don't be an Adam. Come to the Lord. He knows what you've done. He knows what you're going to do before you even did it. But yet He went to the cross. It was just someone tonight on one of the streams asked me to speak about, loving your enemy. And he said, "Oh, that's quite dangerous." And unfortunately, I didn't get time to reply to him because the stream ended. But he turned around, I wanted to reply to him and tell him, well, if we took that approach, we'd be in a, if Jesus took that approach, we'd be in a real bad space right now. Because Jesus died for us while we were enemies to Him. They were hanging Him on a cross. Even one of the guys that was hanging with Him started giving Him jib. But what you have there at the cross, the repentant thief, is the first person that never saw a miracle, never saw Jesus, well, as far as we know, Jesus preach. But yet His heart and His love for us was poured out on that cross. I mean, you can take the last words of any man is a great measure of that man. Muhammad cursed the Jews. Jesus, now forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Even in his last moments, pouring out forgiveness. Now, we know that he struggled with what he was going to be doing. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he cried out to his Father, "Lord, take this from me. If it be your will, please take it from me." Even his boys, he said to him, "Lads, come and pray with me for a bit, stay with me for a bit." He was scared. Not that, he didn't know what had to be done. He knew what had to be done. But still, he was fully man and fully God. He knew that what he would be going through. And he left that with us. So if you're being persecuted, they persecuted me first. And they persecute you because of me. That's what Jesus said. So, the apostles said it many, many times, that they go through tribulation because of their love of Christ. Because the world hates us. It hates us, not us, him. You hated him first, and the world rejects us just like they rejected him. So there was a letter today being read out about a young man, and it touched me. It touched me really deeply, and I was hoping that the young man was on there. I just wanted him to know that what a courageous young man. He's lost his dad. That's why it's getting me. He's lost his dad. And the people that should hold to him and be around him and support him have rejected him. Rejected him because of political views. Not rejected him because of he smashed the church up. Not kicked it all over. You can forgive that if someone's repentant, but no, because of political views. Political views that I suggest his dad held. Now, if you kick someone out of church because they hold different political views, and those political views are formed from your late father. Who's that? Oh, hello, mate. Yeah, if those political views are formed from your late father, you form those views. Yeah, good one. You form those views, and you're kicked out of the church. Well, if you're told to leave the church, the people that are meant to be representing God, the people meant to know Jesus and know the Lord's heart, and your father's gone, the heart implications of that, even the logic implication of that, is that Jesus rejected your father. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I mean, there's many theologians, and it's something that I've actually been looking into as well, that believe that those that have been pushed away from Christ by false teachers and wolves in sheep clothing, or abuse within certain places, will be introduced to Jesus again when they go, and I hope that's true. The Lord wishes no one would perish, and if they have not been told who Jesus is, or mistold who Jesus is, that's not their fault. So why should they be rejected for it? And it's something that I need to look into. We all know Jesus is love, but it's the implications of rejecting someone because of the views they hold is ridiculous. It's anti-godly. It's heartbreaking, and my heart goes out to that young man, and what a courageous fella to turn his life around, to find a group that now, and it's not an echo chamber. It's not people that just agree because they like agreeing. It's people that are respectful, and this is something I talked about the other night on the stream. People that are respectful. We can disagree. You know what? Disagreeing is really good, but respectfully and with love. And he's found that now, and what a bear! To literally face down the barrel of that evil gun and turn his life around. Yeah. Did you hear it as well? Yeah. To turn his life around and to be... I mean, we've all faced evil in certain ways. The world... I was saying about this on the stream. The world has been programmed and lied to about so much stuff, like... what I was talking about. Evolution. You don't matter. You're in a random part of the universe that doesn't... There's no order to it. But that's a religion. Checking in, hanging out. Hello, mate. Yeah. The theory of... it's not even a theory. That's the mental stuff of it. It's not even a theory. It doesn't even hold up. A theory needs to have a adequate explanation to the phenomenon that's being observed. Ain't even a theory. It's a bad idea. And evolution has led to so many deaths on this planet because it's justified dehumanization. It's something that I'm going to you'll see in when I that the thing finally uploads with the One Human Race. I mean, I can talk about it a little bit now actually. There's this whole big thing about racism. There's no racism in the Bible. If we go to, I mean, if anyone's following along, you can pop to, I'm going to do it now actually, Acts 17, and I think it's 26, 27. There we go. Always give you Andy. Okay. So this is Paul in Athens, standing on hilltop, quite funny. It's known as Ayers Rock, and you'll know why that's funny in a moment. Different spelling, but yeah. And he's talking to the Greeks, and he's saying, you know, stop worshipping these muppets, these false gods, these graven images that you've been carving out yourself, and they got. So he's trying to introduce them to the real God, to God. Well, bear with me for a second. Just put my specs on. Getting old. So I'll go back to 24 for a moment. So God that made the world and all things therein. This is, I believe it's King James version. I can't remember. It's one we hand out when we're doing street preaching. God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that He is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in the temples made with hands. So He's not in this little building. Don't confine God to not just the box that we put Him in, but the building that people put Him in. Oh, hi Larry. Yeah, so we confine God to this kind of concept box that we put Him in, and then we say, well, He's in that box and He's in that building and nowhere else. So, like Adam, again, we're creating a world outside of the presence of the Lord. We're hiding in our own garden. If we say God's only in that little building, or big building, or whatever it might be, His gilded temple, whatever it is, no. His world, His universe, He's everywhere. And that's what He's trying to tell these people. Yeah, He's not in neither is worshipped with man's hands, as in the images that they created, all these idol things, as though He needed anything, seeing He has given life and breath to all things. There's nothing we can do, and there's nothing that we can make that God hasn't already got. It's His universe. He made it. Every grain of sand, every puff of air that we breathe, it's all His. And if we're going to try and mould something in this reality, in this world, we're only borrowing what's His anyway. I mean, there's a really good joke, and it is a scientist and God having an argument, and he's like, well, I can create life, I can create, and he goes, right, okay, make me a blade of grass. So the scientist goes, oh, I can do that. He goes, by the way, get your own dirt and get your own seed. Quite funny, but that's the truth. Everything in this universe is His. So now he's saying to him that you're here, fine. You have been made by the Creator. Now He's going to nail it down. He's bringing it down from the universe to the world to the man and to themselves, to create that union, that relationship to them and God. And this is 26. And hath made of blood. Now, different translations say it differently. And had made all men by one man, and all nations from that man to dwell on the face of the earth, and has determined the times appointed beforehand of their habitation. So it's what he's saying there is that. So he's got these bunch of fellas, and he's saying, right, there's nothing you can make God that he doesn't have already. Because not only is the world his, you're his. He made you from one single man, Adam. Now we have Genesis, and we have the genealogy of Adam down to Noah, and then we have Noah's sons. It says in the Bible, it goes Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But actually, Japheth was the elder, so I'll go Japheth, Shem, and Ham being the youngest. Now, when they got off the ark with their missus, I went, right, lads, I'm going to move over here. Me and my descendants are going to have that bit, you're going to have that bit, and you're going to have that bit. And they're talking about the world, right? Japheth and his descendants went north towards Europe through Russia, the Caucasus Mountains, Caucasian. Then you have Shem going east towards Asia, through the Middle East, the Semitic nations. And then you have Ham going, if you're looking at it, west down through Africa. All nations, all people from two people. Now, even science, even the scientific biologists will say that, but they twist it, because all they're doing is observing the data that we have through observation, science, observation, testing, falsification, and then prediction. But what they do is they twist it, and they say Y chromosome Adam, mitochondrial Eve. But there were many families, but just this one pair. We're all descendants from a common ancestor, but just this one pair. Well, there's a problem with that. What are the odds? And you can go through it, and you can look at different percentage odds on what it would have been from this if there was a mutated monkey to find another mutated monkey that they can breed with, so on and so forth, and get to a kind of human-ish pair. But there's a problem with that, and the problem is something that they hold to as the driving force for evolution, and the problem is mutation. Now, the common misconception is that mutation increases genetic data, because otherwise every human would have the same would have less DNA than an ape. So forth and so back. So if you go back to the very, very first single cell organism, they would have to have in them all the genetic data for every single thing that come afterwards. I mean, that's a lot of information, because it doesn't increase genetic data. Mutation only changes what's already there. Genetic data is lost and changed, hence the word mutation, not growth. Now, most humans on the planet have got, there was a study done a few years ago, and they were looking at general mutations within the human race. And most humans today alive, and they've done a very wide longitudinal study, have between 70 and 71 mitochondrial DNA mutations. And they were saying, oh right, okay, so they were starting with a preface that the human race was 60 odd thousand years old. So what they did, it goes, well, these are mutations, they broke them up evenly, like things have happened at the same rate for the last 60,000 years from their perspective. Well, that's not science, that's religion. If you can't observe it, you've broken down the first rule of scientific principle. It's religion, it's a faith statement. Okay, so we'll take that aside for the moment. So they've said 70 to 71, so we'll take a mean of 70 mitochondrial DNA mutations. apart from the fact when 71 popped up, and then popped up again on a few more studies and a few more observations, and it actually worked out. They did a great grandparent, parent, and child, and they saw the change, and it wasn't the only one as well. And then they looked at that cycle. They had to reevaluate their timescale. It wasn't one mutation every 17,000 years. It was one mutation every 7,000 years. Well, you look at a generation. Now, a biblical generation is 70 years. Some disagree, some say slightly different, but generally it's 70 years. A breeding generation is 20 years. So take your 70 mutations, one every 70 years, and then you divide it by the 20%, which is the breeding age. Roughly, and there's a lot of different bits, I've done it on paper. Basically, it works out to the human race being somewhere between 5,900 and 6,700 years old. That's observation. That doesn't get reported because it breaks the narrative. Most top biologists now don't hold to evolution. They're either doing the intelligent design thing, or you get like Dawkins giving it all the oh, it must have been aliens. Okay, so how did the aliens get about? Oh, through some sort of Darwinian process. Had it right. One nation, one man into many nations. Now, here's the cracker. Here's the next bit. Let me just find it for you. Acts 17. And I love this bit because it supports that young man and what himself and his family were voting for. Love your country. Why? Because God's put you there. He's appointed your time and your place. You know, that argument that, oh, you're only a Christian because you're born in a Christian. No, I'm a Christian, put in a Christian nation because God ordained my time and place. He placed all the people that would witness in front of me at the right time and in the right place, because he knew all things from the to the end from the beginning. Right, so let's go here. All those that dwell on the earth, he determined the times. Times is times and place beforehand, and their habitation, and the bounds of their habitation. That kind of sounds like borders to me. Quite funny that. Now, there's a whole push through the world that, you know, we are one people, and, you know, oh, put an end to racism. Pick that up, believe it, hold it in your heart, understand that where does the truth start in the Bible? In the beginning, and go from there. There is no racism. There's one race. There's a human race, but there is a division, and it's a division that people don't want to talk about. There's a division between the legitimate and the illegitimate. Now, when we know that we come to Christ, we become adopted into the family of God. Sorry, it just popped up. We get adopted into the family of God. We are co-heirs with Jesus Christ. Oh, thank you, brother. Yeah, we're adopted into the family. We are co-heirs with Jesus Christ. That means that when we stand in front of the Father on Judgment Day, it's not anything that we've done. Remember, Acts, there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing we can offer God that he doesn't already have and has already given us. He wants, well said, darling, he wants our heart. Something that he has given us, free will, something that he has given us to our control, love is freely given and freely received. Now, I had a guy talk to me a few months ago about free will and oh, if God knew this and God knew that, why has He left us into this this world that's fallen and all that sort of stuff? If He knows that there's all pain and suffering and death, and I goes, well, sin doesn't happen in a vacuum. When we sin, it's usually against someone else, and that's affected them. So, and it's not just I'm talking sin as in a bigger sense. Yeah. So when we are selfish and when we are unkind and unloving, and unloving doesn't just mean there, but it's easier for them because. Oh, I missed that. Did you see that, Mother? Can you have a quick look for me? Yeah, love isn't just there, everything will be better. Love allows us to inherit a love through Christ. Yes, exactly. We don't know love. We don't know love without Jesus. But yeah, love isn't just, like I say, there. Isn't love with that kid going over to that hot pan on the stove, and you say, no, don't do it. That's all. That'll burn you. Oh, don't do it. It'll burn you. And they're about to touch that hot fire, and you slap their hand away. Is that hate, or is that love? And we sometimes do it with the same kind of thing when we're giving people the word. Sometimes we need to be a bit firm, but it's not hateful. It's love. Where was I going? Oh yeah, inheritance. So we're standing in front of the Lord on Judgment Day. Nothing that we've done, but what has already been done by Christ. And He doesn't see us and our fallen state. He sees Jesus, because it's His blood that covers us. And that's the difference. You're either a legitimate, adopted child of God. I'm a bit cockney. You're either a legitimate child of God, or you're a bastard. And it's not a very nice word. And it's not a very nice thing to be, because you are separate from God's love. Now, God has created a place, and I'll get on to what I was talking about that other fella in a moment. But God has created a place for us when we go to glory, when we go to Him. And it's love. It's in His presence. It's spoken of in Revelation, and we kind of get a general taste of it in the New Jerusalem. But He's also, He loves people that much that He will not force Himself upon you. And if you don't want Him, He's created a place that is completely separate from Him. We know it as hell. Now, if we know that the blessings and the presence of the Lord, even in this fallen world, is love, happiness, comfort, joy, peace. Think of a place that is completely absent from those things. No joy. No joy, no peace, no comfort, no presence of the Lord. Thirst that no one could ever quench. Because when you quench thirst, you are given comfort. When you are hot and you cool down, that is comfort. There is none of that. And there is the term is there is screamings and gnashing of teeth. The screamings and the gnashing of teeth in heaven, in hell, are not because of the pain, not because of the suffering. It's because those that have got there have realised it's not going to be the party they thought they were told it was. But the real pain of it, is that they're going to know that they chose to be there. No one has ever ended up in hell that hasn't chosen to be there. And that's why there's a lot of theologians that say that those that have never been introduced to Jesus or don't have the mental capacity to conceptualised Jesus, or have been mistold by false teachers who Jesus is, will be introduced. So there's a big argument. But I want to get back to what that young fellow asked me a few months. Was it a few months? Yeah, a few months ago. He said to me, "If God's so loving and He knows the world's full of pain, why does He give us a choice to love Him?" And I said, "Right, picture this for a moment. God is a loving Father, yeah." And he goes, "Yeah." I goes, "Okay then. So picture yourself as a father. Now you know you're going to have a kid." You're going to have a kid, and that kid's going to grow up, and they're going to go out into the world and could be hit by a bus. I'm just scenarios here. That kid could get into drugs. That kid could have his heart broken. That kid could... I mean, there's an absolute myriad of things that can happen to your kids. It probably happened to all of us already. So do you do the loving thing and lock that child in a room because you know the world out there is really scary and they're going to get hurt? And he was like, no. I goes, well, that's not love then, is it? Love is freely given and freely received. 2 seconds. So, went a bit funny there. Yeah. I said to him, that's not love, is it? Love is freely given and freely received. Otherwise, it ain't love. And that's the same with the Father. And that was the same image that I got when I was reading that passage in Genesis. You know, with Adam. Don't eat that fruit. And it wasn't the fruit that he ate, it was the sin. It was picking Eve over God. She didn't know what he was doing. Sorry, she didn't know what she was doing. He didn't teach her properly. He did. And through that sin, we now live in that fallen world. But just think of this for a minute, right? How long? Get a ball of string. How long will that string be to match eternity? Life's that. So yeah, it's hard times and it's a struggle at times, and that's why we're called to love. Not just love those that are going to love us back, not just love those that bring comfort into our lives, but love those that don't love us. And it's hard. Trust me, it's hard, and I'm quick to that part of me that's quick to burn bridges. It's hard. But it's hard for a reason. Doing the right thing is hard. But it's worth it. Do you think, Jesus on the cross, do you think that was a doddle? No, that was hard. It was the right thing. It was a powerful thing. The only man that ever split time in half. Even those that reject him still acknowledge it when they write BC, AD, or they try to pervert that now. And was it the BCE or whatever it is? Yeah. What is it? Thanks, love. But they're still accepting the common age. Is it common age or something? Common era. So what I want to do is just I'm going to wrap up now. I need to get on with this boat. But I just want you to think. How many times in your life have you been like Adam in the garden? In the midst of all creation, in the glory of this wonderful world, the likes of which has never been observed anywhere else. How many times have you hid yourself from God? Even Christians, be honest. If you slipped, if you've, whatever sin it is, don't want to know, God knows. We're all attracted to sin, and the enemy knows a sin that gets, okay? So, but fight it. But when you've slipped, how many times have you got, I don't want to pray to God today. Whatever it is. You're doing an Adam. Do you not think God knew that Adam was going to do that? But you know what he did? He said, Adam, where are you? I want to be in your presence. Was that? Butt tuts? What's that mean? Yeah. I don't know. Right, yeah. So you're doing an Adam. Oh, right, okay. You're doing an Adam. You're hiding yourself in the face of God. He knew everything from the beginning. So if you fell, what did they say? What did Paul say? Lean in, lean into Jesus. You know, when we run that race, and it is a race. Think of think of like 100-yard dash guys. You know, that give it some serious down a run racetrack. You've seen them when they're crossing that line. Some of them do. They actually fall flat on their face because and that's what Paul's saying when he does that. You know, leaning. I've run that race. I'm leaning in. So remember, life's like that. You're about to cross that finish line. Just lean in. I mean, I used to ride a lot of motorbikes, and 100 mile an hour. It's that on a racetrack. It's that air that's keeping you up. I can trust it because I can feel it. Do that with Jesus. Feel him. Trust him. He will keep you up. And if you do slip, he will pick you back up again. So yeah, I want to leave that with you. And I just want you to think about yourselves. How many times have you done an Adam? Have a read over Genesis 3:9. Have a read over Acts 17, 26, 27, and that confirmation that, you know, nothing that you can give him that he doesn't have already. We don't do works to become saved. We do good works in response to being saved, because they come from your heart. The one thing the Lord has given us, free will. So I just will say thank you for joining me this evening, and maybe been a bit of a rant and stuff like that. I was really convicted by that young man's story, and I was really touched by it. And I just want him, if he's on here or you know him or whatever, I just want you to let him know that, wow, he blows me away. His courage, his strength. And I just, I pray for him and his mum, and